So, what is the sound of one hand clapping? This is one of the most important koans given to students of enlightenment, of meditation. And I have a couple of ideas about it I want to share. I don't know for sure, but it seems to me that the answer is obvious. The sound of one hand clapping. Well, what's the sound of two hands clapping, right? What's the sound of one hand clapping? It makes no sound. The answer is really just simply that simple. So why was it given to us as this koan? Why have meditators contemplated on this for centuries? And of course, one thing, and I don't know if this was on purpose, but the result of it is to turn us into this never finding meditation where we're told that it takes lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes to figure this out. So the result of it is this never ending, always seeking, never finding position that we take in our spiritual studies. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm really trying to challenge that idea. It's way easier to find the answer than we think, than we've been told. And the reason for that, I think, is because these things come to us from long, long time ago. Buddha was 800 years BC. So that was a long time ago. And if you actually study history, if you study history and math, you find out that human beings weren't able to understand the concept of zero for centuries and centuries and centuries of our recorded history. It really wasn't until, the Renaissance, the 1300s, 1400s, that the concept of zero, of the mathematical idea of zero, started coming into the Western world and started being used in math and commerce and things like that. Way back in Buddha's time, they hadn't figured it out yet. And so why is that? I mean, it seems obvious to us. We were taught about zero in kindergarten, right? We've known about it our whole lives. It just seems like such an obvious thing, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We even know how to go negative of zero. I mean, what grade did we learn that in? Third grade? Something like that? So zero to us is just such a normal thing. But think way back in the time of Buddha, it just wasn't a natural human being thing to come up with the idea of zero. It's something that we actually have to be taught. And just think about it. Think way, way back. You're a farmer, or maybe you're a hunter gatherer, and you look out and you see 3 deer. 1, 2, 3. People learned to count, long, long, long time ago. But you look out and you don't see any deer at all. You're like, well, there's no deer. Let's go find some deer. But you don't think there are 0 deer. 0 as an actual concept took centuries to come into our societies. The Mayan culture actually, apparently, had the idea of 0. That was one of the reasons why their mathematics and their calendar was so amazing. But go back to the place where this koan came from. What's the sound of one hand clapping? It's nothing. It is people trying to grasp that idea of 0, the idea of nothing, that there's nothing there. And even with our minds today, if you actually stop and think about what is nothing, what is 0, And I don't mean nothing as a don't think about nothing. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying think about nothing. It's kind of like your mind doesn't have anything to grasp onto when you really think about nothing. Today in our society, we have this idea of zero. It's everywhere. Like one of the stories about Buddha is that he was so brilliant he could count to 1,000. But just think about how hard counting was before the number zero existed, because you couldn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 for us is a 1 and a 0, right? And then there's 11, two ones. Then you get to 20, 21, 22, 23. You get to 30, 31, 32, 33. I mean, you get to 100, 121, 122, 123. I mean, it's just like this logical progression. And if you have enough time, you could just count to wherever. But back in Buddha's time, from 1 to 1,000, every single one of those numbers had a different name. We have a little bit of that now because we get up to 10, then we've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, up until we get to 20, and then it starts hitting the logical progression of 21, 22, 23. It really kind of make more sense if we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10, and then we were 10-1, 10-2, 10-3. That's a little crazy, I guess. Anyway, the point is way back when this koan was brought forward, it was part of trying to figure out this mystical idea of nothing, of zero. And we've got it. What's the sound of one hand clapping? You know the answer. It's nothing. There's no sound. Sound of two hands clapping? Sound of 1,000 hands clapping, yay, at the ball game. Sound of one hand clapping? It's just that easy. And so this is one of the reasons why I think that people today are so much closer to grasping the secret of who you are. Because actually inside you, this thing that you think is you, that you think is this separate thing from everything else, doesn't exist. It's nothing. So if you can actually look inside and see this nothing, if you can hear this sound of one hand clapping, there's your mystery right there. It just immediately calms down the thinking mind and puts you in a place of the now, right? Puts you into just being alive. You can understand zero, you're still alive. You can see zero. Who is really, you are that zero.